You know what everyone wants from you, but you have no idea what you want. I'm someone who collected it all. Good grades, a degree, a PhD, a good job, the pay rise, the awards. But sitting cross-legged on my new bed, wearing my favorite navy top, watching a beautiful sunset through the window of my new home I had worked my whole life to earn. All I could think was, what now? The script in my head went something like, get a better job, earn more money, then start a family. But I just felt tired and empty. Who exactly are you doing all this for? The truth is, you've been trading achievements for affection since you were little. No one said it outright, but you learned it anyway. Like when no one met your eyes after you brought home a B instead of an A. But they beamed and held you close when you performed in front of guests. It's an easy mistake to believe you have to be impressive to be worthy of love. So you sharpen yourself into who others need you to be. The smart one, the reliable one, the one who never disappoints. But in that process, you disappear. You become what the brilliant existential psychotherapist Rolla May and Taylor Swift would call a mirrorball, a collection of mirrors reflecting other people's expectations. Each award, each round of applause, each achievement is another mirror glued on. The more you reflect, the brighter you shine. The more people admire you, the more worthy you feel. But mirrors don't create any light. The first crack came years ago when I was meant to interview at a prestigious company. I'd worked myself to the bone, juggling uni, a part-time job, not eating well. By 10 p.m., I had a migraine so intense it felt like my body was screaming what my mind couldn't admit. Eventually, I called my dad. Told him I couldn't go through with it. And in his gentle acceptance, I found permission to stop. I wandered the streets of Glasgow all morning and ended up at Kelvin Grove Museum, standing in front of this painting. So calm, so luminous, everything I wasn't. I cried in that gallery because I'd forgotten what peace looked like. On the train back to my tiny student room, I read The Pilgrimage by Paulo Coelho. Felt shame and relief all tangled up in a mess. That was the first shift, but it wasn't enough for lasting change. The real breaking point came earlier this year, when a temporary promotion was ending. I was finally a manager, the title everyone expects you to want. As the end date neared, people kept asking, so what's next? Something bigger lined up? The expectation was clear. The ladder only goes up, right? But I couldn't apply to a single job. I'd spend hours on LinkedIn, saving jobs for later, pretending I'd apply over the weekend. But it felt like shopping for a prison sentence. More money for more hours? Less freedom for more status? 2 years ago, I would have pushed through. Spent all my free time crafting the perfect application and preparing for interviews. But something had broken, or finally woken up. When the role ended and I had nothing lined up, I expected the shame to destroy me. After all, achievement was my opioid. Without the next hit, who was I? That's the real cost of this addiction, not just exhaustion or burnout. You become a stranger to yourself. But you see, the world didn't end. People stopped asking. Life continued. I dropped down a notch while others climbed higher, and instead of dying from the status loss, I felt relief. Because for the first time, I had space to ask, what if the real courage isn't in climbing higher? What if it's in rediscovering the self you sacrificed to get here? What if it's in reclaiming your ability to feel delight? Abraham Maslow observed that's how we grow, by following what delights us. Healthy children naturally explore until they find what lights them up. They choose it, return to it, master it, and move on to something richer. But only if you feel safe. The moment love becomes conditional, you'll choose approval over delight every time. And once you've made that choice enough times, you don't just ignore your delights. You learn to disapprove of them, to feel shame about wanting things that don't lead to the kind of success others would approve of. Until finally, you stop feeling them altogether. But delights don't die. They wait. Mine waited in books I read for pleasure, just following an inexplicable thread of curiosity. In lunch breaks, taken fully, writing in the garden to make sense of myself. In changing my email signature back to my old title without apology. Recently, I took a whole week off just to read. No specific outcome in mind. Just me and Abraham Maslow on the couch. I had the best time ever. And I learned more that week than in any formal training. Because when you follow genuine interest, you absorb, you understand and grow, rather than just collect qualifications. The road to rediscovery is maddeningly simple. Notice what you want when no one's watching. Choose it. See what happens. Each choice builds on the last, and you learn to trust your own experience again. But it's not easy, because when your self-worth is tied to achievement, doing something just because you want to feels like stepping off a cliff. You do it anyway. The world doesn't end. You drop the book everyone else is reading because it bores you. You write, not for likes, but to be honest with yourself. You remove a mirror from the mirrorball, one at a time. Some people will get uncomfortable, especially those who lived vicariously through your reflection. Let them. Because when you stop reflecting everyone else's dreams, you discover you can make your own light. I still work hard, I still have plenty of ambition, but I'm channeling it into what genuinely fulfills me. Slowly, you become someone you recognize, someone you actually like. I want to share something that often gets left out of stories like this. I now have the safety I spent years chasing. A roof over my head, enough money, a husband who is patiently teaching me what unconditional love feels like. Maslow was right. If your safety needs aren't met, you'll always choose security over growth. For years, I thought I was chasing success, but really, I was just scared. Not always of failure, but of abandonment, of being left with nothing if I stopped being impressive. So, if you're still in that chase, I get it. You're not wrong. You're surviving the only way you know how. But here's what I wish I'd realized sooner. Perfect safety is a myth. If you wait for certainty, you'll spend your whole life preparing to live instead of actually living. We weren't born to be mirrorballs for other people's dreams. We were born to be lighthouses, to shine from within, even when it feels risky, to illuminate the lives of those we touch. That's how we make meaning. So don't start by asking what you should achieve next. Ask the scarier, quieter question. What do I want when no one's watching? The answer might be just a whisper. But that's where your real life begins. You've been performing for love long enough. It's time to come home to yourself.